Aaron.
Yeah.
Why didn't you say it the first time I said Aaron?
Because it's pronounced Aaron.
You done messed up, Aaron.
Aaron is here. Welcome back, everybody, for some more SPTV, working on being as SP as possible. So we have some really unprecedented entertainment going on here in Clearwater right now, and that is Clearwater's very own big boss baby, Frank Hibbard, abruptly quit his job in the middle of a city council work session yesterday at about, I don't know, 9 o'clock in the morning or something like this. We talk about David Miscavige being Scientology's boss baby, and that's funny because David Miscavige is about as small as a baby. Frank Hibbard is actually quite a large man. Frank Hibbard is the mayor of Clearwater. It's funny calling him a boss baby because he likes to throw tantrums like a baby. It was just a few months ago, he literally offered to fight fellow city council member Mark Bunker for implying Frank might have had a hand in a certain development project being torpedoed, or an affordable housing project being torpedoed. That was really something. So there's a few very short videos I'm going to play for you guys. I hope you'll watch it with me. I'll provide some commentary. I'll try to hold my commentary until the end, but you guys know how much I struggle with that. I love to stop the tape and interject some thoughts. Also, I should say for the record, many a year ago, I actually, when Frank Hibbard was looking to run for mayor again, he's already been mayor twice. This is his third term, not consecutive. He was a mayor like 10 years ago. He ran again a couple years ago. I did a video saying Scientology is terrified of Frank Hibbard. I was mostly trolling David Miscavige with that video. But the essence of that video was Frank Hibbard's a very strong-willed individual, doesn't really like being told what to do, doesn't really put up with a lot of nonsense. And there was a chance that Clearwater's form of government was going to transition to become what they call a strong mayor form of government, where the mayor actually is the CEO of the city. And I speculated that Frank Hibbard becoming strong mayor of Clearwater would be a very bad situation for David Miscavige. Now, it turns out Clearwater did not transition to the strong mayor form of government. We have what's called a council manager form of government. The city council is essentially the board of directors of the city. They hire a city manager who is the CEO of the city, runs all the day-to-day affairs, handles all of the hiring and the firing. The council basically sets policy and direction and asks the city manager to run with it. The city council cannot hire or fire anyone or anything like that. So anyway, so back in the day, I did a video being like, Frank Hibbard's great for Clearwater. I ended up being the one with egg on my face. It turns out what I didn't know is Frank Hibbard's first campaign for mayor was literally run by Scientology's lobbyist, Mary Repper. I also found out that Scientology's newest lobbyist in Clearwater, Joe Burdett, is literally Frank Hibbard's best friend. A nonprofit, at least one nonprofit that Frank Hibbard's associated with, accepted millions of dollars in donations from some of Scientology's biggest donors. Behind closed doors, Frank Hibbard is no fan of David Miscavige's Scientology. And Frank Hibbard seems to think that what he thinks and says behind closed doors is really what matters, when in fact, the mayor of Clearwater is a spokesperson for Clearwater. Nobody gives a shit what you say behind closed doors when in public, you're a giant puss. And that's, I mean, Frank Hibbard is so ineffective and weak on the subject of Scientology that he and his friends are the reason people think Scientology runs Clearwater. Scientology does not run Clearwater. There is not and never has been a Scientologist on the city council, but you'd never know it because people like Frank Hibbard and his friends are so compromised by Scientology's money, they can't bring themselves to say a single terse word about Scientology, their horrible practices as a community partner, much less their horrible human rights abuses, labor trafficking, child trafficking, all that kind of stuff. So I'm no fan of Frank Hibbard, even though I did a video sort of pumping him up a few years ago. All right, so let me get this on the screen here. Let's stop all the jibber jabbering. Got to get my buttons correct. Up, add it to the stream. There we go. Okay, here's the footage of him actually quitting in the middle of a meeting. Here we go.
This is probably one of the toughest things I've ever done in my entire life. But I know it's right. Because I'm not a quitter. But I'm not the right leader for this council anymore. And I'm concerned where the city is going, because this is simple math, and we're not doing very well on the test. But I can tell that really I am not the right person. And I'm a busy guy. I've always believed in making sacrifices for public service. And I love Clearwater. And I love some of the things we've gotten done. I think Imagine's going to be phenomenal. I think Ms. Poyer's going to do a great job as city manager. But in good conscience, for my family, for my own health and other things, I can't remain the mayor. I would highly recommend you appoint Hoyt for the interim. At least he knows the city. You're going to have to appoint somebody who doesn't want to be the next mayor. And I know this is shocking, but I'm the wrong guy right now. And I just called my wife. She's shocked. And I don't ever quit anything. But it's been more and more obvious to me that as much as I love the city and as much as I want to stick around for some of the things that are going to occur over the next couple months, I simply am not the right person to be here anymore. And so I wish all of you the best. I like you all and enjoy your company in different ways. We don't always agree on things. But I want to thank our staff. You all are phenomenal. I think you are first class people who are incredibly dedicated to the city and what we do. And you all deliver services on a daily basis in a way that is unlike anybody else. I've never lost faith in our staff. We always have bumps in the road. And as people say, if it weren't for people, everything would be easy. Our citizens and everybody else. I will say one thing, Mr. Haluba, you got your wish. So thank you all, and God bless you in this city. I wish you all the best. Thank you for all you've been to me.
Well, there you go. You can't sit up there and say, I'm not a quitter, and then quit, because quitters are people who quit, and you quit. So you are a quitter. You quit. You ran for mayor because you thought you were going to be able to get everything your way and push all of your agenda items through. And the moment the council, and particularly two of the people who you helped get elected, the moment the people you helped get elected didn't vote in lockstep with you, you took your ball and you went home like a quitter. So this was so out of the blue. Like, they were literally in the middle of a discussion. Frank asked for a 5-minute recess. They came back and he quit. He also doesn't do himself any favors when he says, I just spoke to my wife and she's shocked. Frank, if your own wife is shocked, then clearly your behavior is erratic and unpredictable. I would have expected you to say, but she understands because it's been a long time coming and we talk about it all the time. I'm not just here to armchair quarterback everything Frank could have, should have, would have said, but I'm just like, you can't start the speech by saying, I'm not a quitter, and then act this erratically, say even your own wife is shocked, and then walk out and say you've never lost faith in your city. This is all coming down to budget problems. Frank, by the way, runs like a wealth management firm. His private offices are actually in the same building that city council offices are in. Before this meeting was even over, Frank Hibbard had already cleared out his office. I mean, what's going on? What is going on, Frank? Okay, let me see. There was, man, I had like 3 or 4 things I wanted to say in response to this clip. And I thought if I didn't keep notes, I'd be able to remember what they were. Okay, there's 2 or 3 other, there's 2 other clips I want you to watch with me. And I'm going to show you some contradictions between some of the things he says in some of the interviews he's done post this. This video has been going viral all over the country, incredibly enough. Damn it. What is it that I wanted to say? All right. Anyway, we'll come back to it. Okay. So the next thing is former. Let's see. The next video we are going to watch. Let's close that one. Okay. Bear with me, folks. We're going to get the Fox 13 one. Did I pick the right one? I sure did. All right. Watch this one with me, guys.
This surprised everybody yesterday. The mayor of Clearwater resigning in the middle of a budget workshop. Just got up and left. Frank Hibbard served for nearly a dozen years, but his decision to step down left a lot of people shocked and wondering what's next. Fox 13's Lloyd Sauer spoke with the former mayor in his first sit-down interview since his resignation. Hi there, Lloyd. What do you have to say?
Well, Mark, Frank Hibbard says everything we see here on the waterfront is on track, the massive redevelopment, including the amphitheater. But he says it's the way City Council proposes to spend taxpayer money that caused him to part ways. After countless ribbon cuttings and scores of meetings, Frank Hibbard resigns in his third term as Clearwater mayor. And in his first sit-down interview, he tells me it's not because of any impending scandal or accusations.
None of those things. The city is well run. There's no.
Okay, good. That does give me an entry point here. How do you define scandal? How do you define investigation? It has just been revealed recently that the city's recycling, we have a trash department, there's trash recycling. There are two separate pickup services. Your trash gets picked up separate from the recycling. It has recently been reported that it's been discovered that for the last almost 2 years, none of the recycling has been being delivered to the recycling center. All of the recycling that gets picked up separately has been being driven to and dumped into wherever the trash gets dumped or burned, incinerated, whatever happens. Now, guys, we're not talking about like Nixon-esque level scandal here or something like that. But it has been a massive embarrassment. What's up with all the money that's been being spent on the recycling when no one's been doing the recycling? And the other thing is that Clearwater, after in this term that he just quit, Clearwater did a nationwide search twice for a new city manager. They selected a new city manager, they hired him, they brought him on, and Frank Hibbard sat back while this city manager became besties with David Miscavige, was talking to David Miscavige every week on the phone to put together a proposal for Scientology to redevelop downtown Clearwater. And Frank Hibbard sat back and said nothing while the city manager spoke in the press, calling this a partnership with Scientology. And I know to many people that might not be a scandal, but to me it was a scandal. And guess what? They fired this city manager for other stuff. They fired the city manager because you might have heard in these two interviews so far, Frank Hibbard has mentioned the word imagine or imagine Clearwater. There is a whole bunch of property the city owns on our bluff, which if you look on a map, Clearwater sits right on the water. We have a whole lot of property right on the water that's city owned. Imagine Clearwater is a development project to turn that into a world-class outdoor musical venue. That construction project is almost done. The city put out a request for proposal for the management company that would basically manage this facility for the city. Frank Hibbard used to be the chairman of the board of Ruth Eckerd Hall. He had to resign from that position when he became mayor. Ruth Eckerd Hall made a bid for that contract. Another company called AMG also made a bid for that contract. Frank wanted to give that contract to Ruth Eckerd Hall. The city manager recommended AMG, which made Frank look really, really bad. Frank then proceeded to take steps to put pieces in place and put things in motion to have the city manager fired. And that is exactly what happened. The city manager was fired. I will not represent that is the only reason the city manager was fired. I will say it sure as hell had a lot to do with it. There is more developments coming forward as far as Scientology's maneuvering to take over more and more of downtown Clearwater. Frank Hibbard and his buddies and his cronies not only have done nothing to prevent this, they've been actively profiting from it. Perhaps Frank Hibbard himself isn't personally profiting from it. But I wonder who David Miscavige's money manager is in Clearwater. I wonder if David Miscavige has any accounts with Frank Hibbard's company. I'm not saying that he does. I'm not even implying that I have any inside information that he may. I'm just saying Frank's friends, I know for sure, are literally profiting from selling Clearwater to Scientology. And I just find it so hard to believe that Frank Hibbard's hands aren't dirty in that as well. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. Let's hear what else Frank Hibbard has to say.
No corruption in the city. I think there's a fundamental disagreement.
A disagreement, says Hibbard, over city council's priorities for spending, like a proposal to build a new $90 million city hall. It was at the top of the list for most on city council, but at the bottom of Hibbard's list and the subject of the last discussion before he packed his things and left.
I think they're making decisions that are going to have negative ramifications. Clearwater has always been a very fiscally responsible city.
If somebody said, Frank, you do it, what would you do?
Well, I believe that the city hall ought to go in our main library. We have 90,000 square feet there.
Hibbard says since it was built in 2004, libraries require less space. He says building a new city hall could also turn into an overbuild.
We don't know what the workplace is going to look like 2-3 years down the road. Are all of our employees going to be working from desks? Are they going to be doing flexible hours?
He says he would send more money to the police and fire departments.
Okay, so this is an interesting point. I'm not going to make a long speech here. This video is almost over. For the mayor of the city to say the council members are making bad decisions, bad financial decisions, that's why I quit, is such a punk ass bitch thing to say. So the problem with Frank is that he's not a leader. He's a boss. He wants to be someone who can say, jump when I say jump. He can't stand the fact that as the mayor of Clearwater, he can't just issue orders and have people do things. By quitting, he's saying Clearwater's going in the wrong direction and I can't do anything to stop it, so I'm not even going to try. Does that sound like a leader to you? All right, I won't beat this point to death because it's going to come up again momentarily here.
Those, to me, are the things that the city ought to be focusing on more than monuments.
Hibbard says because of the influx of people to this area, the city has more tax money.
Just because you have money doesn't mean you have to spend it. You either want to build up some reserves or you can actually think about reducing millage rates.
Are you suggesting that instead of building a new city hall, that you might consider a tax cut?
It certainly is something that could be considered.
Hibbard says one of his top priorities, revitalizing downtown Clearwater, is still unfinished business, but he made progress. And he says the massive waterfront redevelopment at Coachman Park, including a new amphitheater, is on track and will be part of his legacy.
So my legacy is I was here to get it done. I'm not going to be there to cut the ribbon, and that's okay.
Hibbard's.
Okay, so we'll get rid of that one. Okay, so the only reason we're going to watch one more video is because he does a different interview, and he says something that I want you guys to see. Here we go.
The city of Clearwater attorney met with Frank Hibbard to accept his formal resignation as mayor after he abruptly quit during a council workshop meeting yesterday.
Hibbard says he was frustrated over how his fellow council members were budgeting for the city, calling it reckless. 10 Tampa Bay's Malik Rankin spoke with him on what the 24 hours since resigning have been like.
Former Mayor Frank Hibbard said in the day that's passed since he's resigned, he's received hundreds of calls, texts, emails, all from people supporting his decision. And while it was unexpected,
who's going to message him being like, hey, good job for quitting?
It's one he's standing by. Former Mayor Frank Hibbard was on his way to meet with the Clearwater city attorney.
Finalizing my resignation.
Do you plan on having a transition period with that?
I don't think so. I think it's best just to move on for everybody.
In that meeting, he turned in his resignation letter, effective today.
Well, I was not anticipating leaving. I had thought about it, discussed it with my wife, but I saw that I wasn't making any headway with my fellow council members.
That's kind of pretty much what I wanted to highlight right there. I wasn't anticipating leaving. Guys, nothing happened in the meeting where he quit other than some council members who he considers personal friends of his, who he personally campaigned for, said, you know, I think Clearwater should have a new city hall building, and I think that should be at the top of our priority list. I mean, this is where I start to question, is there something going on with Frank Hibbard's mental health? That's a question, not a diagnosis. You're the mayor of the frickin' city. You're in your third year of a 4-year term, and a mild conversation about budget priorities pushes you over the edge so suddenly you spontaneously quit, shocking even those closest to you. There's more going on here than meets the eye. All right, just a couple more minutes on this one.
He's talking about the city spending. Clearwater city councilors want to put $90 million towards a new city hall and municipal complex.
I think that the expenditures that they are going to make are unfortunate, and I don't think I'm going to change their mind, nor they change mine. And if you're going to drive off a cliff, I'm not going to stay in the vehicle.
That is exactly the quote I wanted to play for everybody. If you're going to drive this city off the cliff, I'm not going to stay in the vehicle. Well, so much for the captain going down with the ship. But Frank, instead of quitting in the middle of a work session that nobody ever watches and there's no votes, why don't you actually make a spectacle of this at the actual council session where voting occurs? If you feel so passionately about the issue, and if you are in fact a leader, and if you do in fact care about the city, you should make a freaking speech at the meeting where the vote occurs. You should say, I want it on the record that I stand alone in a 1-4 vote opposing what you other 4 council members are pushing through as a budgeting priority and committing the city to a debt load that I believe will ruin the city. Why not use your platform, use your bully pulpit to, if you think they're doing something wrong, shame them, publicly shame them, unless you just don't care. And he mentions this in the next 30 seconds here.
The city is $250 million short for projects being considered in next year's budget. As for the people who voted Frank Hibbard in and those who didn't, here's his parting words.
Well, I thank him for the trust. Know that you still live in a wonderful city with tremendous staff that is committed to making the quality of life in Clearwater superior to other cities around us. And they should be happy to live here and proud to live in the city of Clearwater.
Right there, folks. How in the hell can they be happy and proud to live in the city? You weren't happy and proud enough to continue leading. I mean, I understand as a strong mayor, you don't lead the city, but make no mistake, Frank Hibbard sees himself as the political leader of Clearwater. I mean, really, there's something going on here that is more than meets the eye. We don't have to listen to the rest of this. All right, let me tackle some of the super chats here, guys. When will you announce your candidacy for mayor? Oh, guys, I did run for Clearwater City Council last year. I've never worked so hard on anything in my life. I raised $70,000. I personally knocked on over 5,000 doors. It was a very close race. Mayor Frank Hibbard openly campaigned for and endorsed the woman who was running against me, Lena Teixeira, a woman who worked personally with David Miscavige's Clearwater representative. Frank Hibbard took the never before in the history of Clearwater has a sitting mayor endorsed someone who was running for city council. Okay, so I did run for city council. It was the hardest I've ever worked on anything in my life. I will never do that again. Now, his vacancy how this is supposed to be resolved is because there's still another year left before our next mayoral elections. The council is supposed to appoint someone to fill the mayoral seat for the next year. It's supposed to be someone who doesn't actually intend on running for mayor in 1 year. On the chance that they actually select one of the current city council members to appoint that person to hold mayor, they would then appoint someone else to fill the vacated council seat. So there's no election happening for a year. In the event they cannot agree on someone to appoint for mayor in the next 30 days, there will actually be a special election. So I am not announcing my candidacy for appointment to mayor, at least not today. Okay, VW from Indiana. Run, Aaron, please run. Yes, we shall see. Okay, Dave Owens, did he quit the council or just the mayor job? Dave, the answer is both. The answer is both. Amber Glass, is he going to be replaced by a Scientology stooge? Well, in some ways, because of his financially, because of his compromised status due to his relationships to Scientology money, I consider Frank Hibbard was a Scientology stooge, even though he doesn't like Scientology. You don't have to be a Scientologist or like Scientology to be a Scientology stooge. I can tell you, Mary Repper and Joe Burdett, Scientology's lobbyists, do not like Scientology. They still help Scientology do their business and profit from selling Clearwater to Scientology. So if your question is, will Frank Hibbard be replaced by an actual Scientologist? The answer is definitely not. Will he be replaced by a Scientology stooge? Never say never. Thank you, Amber Glass. Okay, Dave Owens. Getting rid of him was the OT8's most recent OT win. They say at Flag, focusing on his exit. No way. Are you serious? Getting rid of him. Oh, was the OT7's most recent OT win. Dave, are you kidding me? Dave, if you're being serious, email me with any evidence that you have, and I'll gladly do a video about that. growingupinscientology@gmail.com. I think you're kidding, though. All right. Thank you for the super chat, though. All right. Let me see. I know there is at least one more. Scrolling. Destiny Salazar. Good leaders campaign for ideas, not quit in protest. Exactly. Quitting your job because you think the city's going in the wrong direction? Didn't people vote for you so that you would do everything you could to try to make the city go the right direction? Like, it's just wrong thinking to go, I don't want to be there when they vote against me because what, Frank? Because what? Like, it's just, it's so wrong-headed. Okay. Joe Cooter. All right. Well, thank you for that super sticker. That might be the last one, and it is. All right, everybody. Well, I didn't mean to make this a 27-minute video, but I guess that's okay. Thank you, everyone, for hanging in there with me and watching until the very end. I will talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not,